Our country is burning.
Yeah.
South Africa is being destroyed while we watch. Go and look at Zimbabwe. I use the case of Zimbabwe because it's not far from us.
Sure.
When ZANU-PF was busy destroying Zimbabwe, there were people who were saying, people like me were crazy and say, no man, you are crazy. ZANU-PF, this and that. Today in Zimbabwe, black people in Zimbabwe live like animals. You know who destroyed that? It's not some white colonialists. It's black people, ZANU-PF. If they want to kill us, let them kill us. But I can tell they won't finish us. So we have to defend our country because this is the only country we have. I mean, today, by the way, the things that work in South Africa, let's be blunt about it. We must not lie.
Yeah.
The things that work in South Africa are the things that are in the private sector run by white people.
Guys, the more I learn from South Africans about the ANC, it's really, sometimes it's really hard to believe, you know, some of these things we keep learning from different analysts in South Africa. You know, because in West Africa, those of us in West Africa, many West African countries, you know, we've always seen this ANC as this liberation fighter kind of group in the likes of, you know, Frelimo and the fighters in Guinea-Bissau in West Africa who fought off the Portuguese and all of that. But the more, especially in likes of even Sizwe and Portfu Welch, when they complain about the ANC, you know, Prince Mashele, many commentators who really analyze issues about the ANC, especially in terms of corruption. Even the new incoming police commissioner, Professor Firoz Gachalia, who argues that he's not proud of the corruption that goes on in the ANC, but yet he's actually he will give his best to serve, you know, in the police commissioner position. It's really worrisome and it's really tiring sometimes to really hear how Prince Mashele, for example, really complains about the trajectory of South Africa and, you know, the history of the ANC in terms of its leadership from 1994 all the way down. When you listen to Prince Mashele, you feel really drained by the truth. According to, you know, many times, and many people might argue if probably what he's saying is not the truth anyway. But he, for me, is an academic who actually argues from a perspective of, you know, analysis and reaching logical conclusions from his analysis. And the more we hear about these things, the more really it shocks some of us in West Africa. So in this video anyway, it's a part of the discussion Prince Mashele has with Sizwe and Portfu Welch. The full video is actually in the show notes if you want to watch. It's 1 hour long. But he speaks about it. He opens a can of worms that's really unbelievable for me to really believe many of these things, you know. He's actually arguing about the Pala Pala issue, arguing that if President Ramaphosa lives long as maybe as 80, that he might end up dying in jail because, you know, the whole thing about Pala Pala won't easily be washed away. He's actually arguing that this whole appointment with Professor Firoz Gachalia doesn't really, for him, make sense because, first of all, he argues that the professor is old and the professor might not be, you know, strong enough to carry out the duties required for the level of, you know, grit that a police commissioner in a crime-ridden society like South Africa really demands. I don't know how true that is anyway because, you know, from the perspective of an academic, he might actually be smart to understand how to really tactfully follow up cases and all of that. But Prince Mashele even argues that he also is an academic and he doesn't really see anything outstanding that this professor has done in the academic space. He's actually arguing that, you know, Police Commissioner Mchunu and I think the Deputy Police Commissioner Sibiya were put on leave of absence. And that's a funny part of the interview where he argues that the leave of absence is simply almost as though one has a sabbatical, sitting down and just having millions being paid to that person. He argues that the leave of absence is actually the taxpayers' money in South Africa, that probably there's no respect for the taxpayer in South Africa going forward. One of the major arguments he actually argues, and I like the fact that when he says that there shouldn't be any lies about it, you know, is about this fact of the fact that he argues that many things that still work in South Africa are in private hands controlled by white people. And, I really still think that ever since I started this channel, there's still been a fever. I've still been hearing, especially when I look at the comments from Black South Africans on this channel and, comments around in many Black South African spaces on the internet, there still seems to be as though there are no, credible, or there still seems to be as though there's hardly a recognition of the fact that white people are really an important part of society in South Africa. And this is why I dedicated this channel to understanding minority lives in South Africa. Whites, Indians, coloreds, most of the blacks actually come here bashing me because of the fact that I speak up for the minorities. But it's understandable. And I think this is why it's really important to start understanding how it is that South Africa can attain a sustainable future. Prince Mashele in this video also argues that, there seems now to be a dismantling of the black parties that actually represent black people. And if care is not taken, we see Floyd Shivambu leaving the EFF to the MK. Now he might be kicked out of the MK soon to form his own party. We see the EFF trying to still struggle to get its percentage. A lot of struggles with the EFF. We see the ANC completely breaking down. People are really losing trust in the ANC. So one of the dangers, he argues, is that very soon, black people might not have a representative party that unites them towards a certain coherent vision for black people in South Africa. All right. And at the end of the day, what are parties designed for? Parties are designed to really fight for the betterment of the lives of their representatives, the people they represent. So, he argues that a suitable future for a suitable party for the future for black people, especially in South Africa, would be one that really takes cognizance of the white people. White elites and black elites would now have to come together and sit down and plan for a sustainable future. And I've been saying this on this channel. I've been saying this many times, that the only future I see is for South Africa is a South Africa that would have a leader that would rise above the differences between the whole thing, black, white, colored, and Indians, and start seeing everyone in South Africa as South African. Any white-only party in South Africa, and this is my caution all the time for the DA party, it is also my caution all the time for the EFF, although the EFF seems to be a really stubborn party that wants to fight for, it argues that, one of their focus is the black middle class. But a sustainable future for South Africa cannot escape the fact, because you have to consider how this country, South Africa, came into independence. You will never be able to do away with the minorities, black, white, Indians, or coloreds, in that particular future that can be sustainable for everyone in South Africa. And this is actually what we are seeing, that the more the ANC seems to stick to its kind of like comrades and tries to push for these kind of issues of BEE and all that, leading to the exclusion of certain groups of people, we see the country breaking apart. It isn't really sustainable in my own perspective. And I think that's what Prince Mashele is actually arguing. Really powerful interview, bro. I encourage you guys to watch to the end. He speaks about a lot of things, about how it is that the only things that still work in the country today are entities that are in private hands controlled by white people. And that, so the moment we start understanding the power of a unity of all the people that make up South Africa, it's not only blacks, it's not only white, it's not only colored, it's not only Indians. And regardless of all the black South Africans who come here to try to, insult me because of the fact that I'm an outsider trying to analyze South Africa, I think it would be wise that, everyone now in South Africa has to understand how South Africa came into independence and start understanding the role of a unity and the white people as well, because no one is perfect. The white people also might have their own faults and all that, but at the end of the day, everyone must come to understand that the certain form of unity is the only way South Africa can attain a sustainable future. Let's quickly listen to Prince Mashele. He breaks down a lot of things, arguing that South Africa seems to be going down the path of Zimbabwe, and that, South Africans must now bind together. It can not only be the role of blacks or whites or Indians or colored, but everyone has to start speaking up and trying to really either hold the ANC to accountability or probably boot the ANC out altogether. This is from the perspective of Prince Mashele now. So that at the end of the day, he argues, and I don't know what it is that is his relationship with Zimbabwe, but he's really cautious about South Africa going the Zimbabwe route, and he's really sounding the alarm in this video. So let's quickly watch how he breaks down a lot of issues wrong with South Africa, and let's have a robust discussion, guys. Share your thoughts in the comments.
So we did hear, in fact, as we shoot this interview, that the Deputy National Commissioner, I think is his title, for crime gathering, Shadrack Sibia, has been placed on leave, I believe. That's right. Oradila, it's special leave, eh? Another special leave.
Yeah, it's leave of absence.
Leave of absence.
Yeah. You know, you are paid sitting at home. That's Ramaphosa for you.
I was just thinking to myself, you know what? This is not a leave of absence. This is just a sabbatical. That's what we should call it.
I mean, can you imagine you sit at home, millions just land into your bank account? Because these people,
where do I sign up for this?
Yeah. My goodness, you know how I wish I could get a leave of absence.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be very nice. Yeah, so that's what Ramaphosa is doing. But Ramaphosa would not do that with his own personal man. I'm sure that in his house, private houses, he has gardeners and cleaners. He will never give them leave of absence while his house is not cleaned. I can assure you. If somebody thinks I'm lying, go and investigate. You will never find Ramaphosa's gardener sitting at home on a leave of absence. But he can give Mkunu and Sibia leave of absence, because you know who is paying? Is your tax, my friend.
So true.
Yeah,
And
he doesn't care about your tax.
sure. This episode is too much.
No,
Mr.
but
Mashele.
it's here's the thing, Sizwe.
Yeah, someone needs to say it. I'm so
No,
glad
it's not
you've
about
just found the
someone
word.
having to say it. Our country is burning.
Yeah.
South Africa is being destroyed while we watch. We have to defend this country, because we're defending the future of our... You have a child.
Yeah.
Your child is going to curse you one day if you don't defend this country. And if you think this stuff I'm saying, I'm crazy, go and look at Zimbabwe. I use the case of Zimbabwe because it's not far from us.
Sure.
When ZANU-PF was busy destroying Zimbabwe, there were people who were saying, people like me were crazy, and say, no man, you are crazy. ZANU-PF this and that. Today in Zimbabwe, black people in Zimbabwe live like animals. You know who destroyed that? It's not some white colonialists. It's black people, ZANU-PF. So here we must never allow the ANC to destroy our country while we watch. And the good thing is this, we still fight using words. We're not using guns.
And we have these platforms.
And we have
where
these
can speak
platforms.
openly.
If they want to kill us, let them kill us. But I can tell they won't finish us. So we have to defend our country, because this is the only country we have.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the interesting questions for me about all this is the State Capture Commission, for all its shortcomings and failures, left a serious dent on the ANC's credibility. And in the election last year, which we have analyzed together, the ANC plummeted to just below the 40% mark. I mean, now again, for at least another 6 months to a year, we're going to have this daily broadcast of the ANC's failures. And that could be a serious problem electorally for the ANC, who are in no position at the moment, no position of strength anyway. This could be another and maybe the final nail in the ANC coffin. Look,
sis, when I predict these things, people think this guy is crazy. I predicted that the ANC, in fact, I had said to get 38% in 2024. We wrote this thing in our book that is going to lose elections in 2024.
And in 2012,
we wrote the book in 2012.
Yeah.
And I remember me having a long debate, heated debate with my co-author, Mzu. Mzu was, no, Prince, 2024 will still be alive. What if we get it wrong? I said, let's write it. I think these things.
Yeah.
Here is what I think will happen.
Yeah.
The ANC will be lucky to get 20% in 2029. It's not far from now. It will be very lucky to get 20%. This is the last government that is going to include the ANC. I may not know what's going to happen in terms of the makeup of the government in 2029, but I can assure you the ANC will be around 20%, 18% in 2029. South Africans are fed up. And they are getting fed up every day. And South Africans have a right, by the way. They are correct to be fed up. The ANC, the destruction the damage that the ANC has done to our country is actually unforgivable. At some point, We will have to hunt down these chaps. Some of them will be dead, by the way. South Africans are going to go to their graves and spit, given what they've done. Look at every city. Look at every town.
Yeah.
Look at every black township that used to be proper.
Rural areas.
Rural areas. Before 90, I was born and raised in the rural areas. Yeah. Public hospitals, schools. They have destroyed everything. I mean, today, by the way, the things that work in South Africa, let's be blunt about it. We must not lie.
Yeah.
The things that work in South Africa are the things that are in the private sector run by white people in South Africa. Even the ANC cadres, by the way, they walk around with medical aid cards in their back pockets because when they are sick, they don't want to go to Tembisa Hospital. You know why? Because Panyaza Lisufi and these criminal gangs, they have destroyed Tembisa Hospital. They have destroyed Mamelodi Hospital. They have destroyed in my township in Mukuru, Matikwana Hospital. Matikwana Hospital, I know it. In Mpumalanga and Mukuru, a township called Mukuru. Today, locals there in Matikwana Hospital, they know that if you go into that hospital, you're not coming back, you will die. So that's what the ANC has done. They have potholes. I mean, I grew up in this country. I was 18 in 1994. There were not potholes on tar roads. There were no potholes. Robots were working. I mean, this idea that you drive through a town or a city, robots don't work. It's an ANC thing. And we must name it that way. So these guys have done a lot to destroy our country. Jobs. When I was growing up in the rural areas, and this was the case, by the way, across South Africa, you are growing up in some rural area, you think one day I'm going to go find work in town. In the nearest city, we in Bushbuckridge would say we're going to Johannesburg and would find jobs. Today, if you are black, you have not been to school. Even if you have been to school, you have no hope of finding employment. You know why? The ANC has destroyed the backbone of the economy. Parastatals, Transnet, Eskom, all of these things that made the economy to work, the ANC has destroyed. That's why they must never be forgiven.